Hello, friends. Craig Ballard, Locked On Blue Jays. Today's episode brought to you by GameTime.co. And in today's episode, going to get you set for the Blue Jays Royals tilt tonight. It is Yusei Kikuchi's 2023 debut, so plenty of intrigue there. Also going to be joined by Scott Belfort and Adam Mack in this episode. A lot of you, I think, will recognize them as the co-hosts from an excellent Toronto Blue Jay podcast called The Walk-Off.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Craig Ballard. I am Locked On Blue Jays, and as always, I am grateful. I am thankful that you're choosing to spend part of your day talking Toronto Blue Jay baseball with me. Tonight, game 2 of this 4-game series at Kansas City, and intriguing, right? Intriguing matchup. It's a pair of lefties. Yusei Kikuchi for the Blue Jays, Kris Bubic for the Royals. Let's get into Yusei Kikuchi first and foremost, right? And I'm very excited. We're going to hear more about Yusei as we go on in this show. As I say, Scott Belfort and Adam Mack from the Walk-Off joining us. But in terms of just this game tonight, let's go ahead and deep dive this. 7:40 p.m. Eastern, first pitch. Now, Yusei Kikuchi, my goodness, certainly the need to rebound from whatever we saw last season. The glass half empty people are going to say a need to rebound from what we've seen from Kikuchi pretty much his entire career. He's only had a few good months in baseball. So if you're a glass half full person when it comes to Yusei Kikuchi, you're probably a little further ahead than me. You're probably a little bit of a better person than I am. I actually put up a poll on our Locked On Jays Twitter account with asking you, where are you on Yusei Kikuchi? You're all in, you can't wait, you're super excited about him, or what, Craig, his career ERA is over 5? No, I'm not excited about him at all. Or you remain, even though the spring was good, you remain in wait and see mode. That was my vote. I remain in wait and see mode. But let's take a look here now. Yusei Kikuchi, no surprise that when he did face Kansas City last season, he struggled mightily. That was pretty much par for the course for Yusei last season, right? If you remember that game he pitched against Kansas City last season, ironically, it got off to a great start. He struck out Whit Merrifield. Whit was leading off for Kansas City, struck him out. Okay, good start. But then, my God, he didn't even last that first inning. Didn't even make it out of the first inning, recorded 2 outs. All told, he was touched with 3 runs on 2 hits, 4 walks. Wasn't that indicative of his issues last season? The control issues. 4 walks, didn't even make it out of the first inning. My goodness. In 3 career starts at Kauffman, the other ones haven't. The first one, actually, his first career start in Kauffman Field was pretty good. His rookie season, it actually was pretty good. The 2 that have followed, my goodness. Now, all told at Kauffman Field, ERA of 8.38. Let's let that sink in for a minute here. 8.38 ERA. His whip is over 2. That's walks and hits per innings pitched. So he averages allowing over 2 base runners per inning in this ballpark. So to state the obvious, things need to turn around. And we know on a bigger scale, things need to turn around for season-wise as well for Yusei this season, right? Now, there is cause for optimism. Dare I say there is cause for optimism. And it wasn't just the spring training numbers for Yusei Kikuchi, which were excellent. 2-1. I'll take that. 0.87 ERA. Oh, my goodness. Now, he did lead the team with 10 walks, but he led the team with the most innings pitched. So maybe that sort of works itself out in the wash. I mean, we're extra sensitive to Yusei's walks, right? Because, of course, that was his issue last season. But the reason for the optimism, it really seems like that cutter is out. Thank goodness. That cutter was a major issue for him, has been his entire career, was awful last season. And he's added a new pitch, and it seems like he's working on it and having success with it. Kevin Gausman describes the movement of it. Let me get this right, as a curved sliderish. Yes, curved sliderish. That's what he said, a curved sliderish pitch. So has the sort of movement that even a veteran pitcher like Kevin Gausman can't pinpoint. Is that a curve or is that a slider? So something to be excited about. Again, did have that working in spring training. One of the main issues, aside from the cutter last season, was his fastball command. The fastball struggles were on display a little bit in spring. I will say that, but man, there was a couple games, like full games that he pitched in spring training that I saw that were very much like what I saw from his fastball. So dare I say, and I'm firmly in the I need to see it category from Yusei Kikuchi, but dare I say there is cause for optimism this season with Yusei Kikuchi. And for me, I want to get out ahead of this. I want to be really, really clear and transparent with you. For me, Yusei Kikuchi, I have to see it over an entire season. And I say that because his 2021 got off to a great start. What was he, like 6-4? ERA just over 3 at the All-Star break. Made the All-Star team in 2021. So we actually saw a good stretch of baseball from Yusei. What happened in that second half? In that second half, 1-5, his ERA was 6. Remember, this was a 2021. This was a season Seattle was battling with the Blue Jays right down to the wire to try to make the playoffs. They were a contending team. Not when Yusei Kikuchi was on the mound in particular in that second half. And there was one pitcher in all of baseball in that second half. Great first half. Second half in 2021, one pitcher in all of baseball that was hit harder than Yusei Kikuchi. So as I say, I need to see it for an entire season because I've seen good stretches before and it didn't translate into a full good season. Now, on the other side of the mound, Kris Bubic, this is a battle of lefties. What could go wrong for the Blue Jays, right? Facing a lefty. Worst team in baseball last year against lefties, already 0-1 against lefties this year. What could go wrong? Okay. Well, okay. Now, Bubic last season, 3-13. ERA was at 5.5. My goodness. Now, ironically, as I say, the Blue Jays struggle mightily against lefties. So 3-13, Bubic last season, ERA at 5.58. He still threw a gem against the Blue Jays. He threw a gem against the Blue Jays. Make it make sense how the Blue Jays struggle so much against lefties. All their best hitters are righties. I don't get it, but it is what we've been seeing lately. Now, in that game, he was 7 innings pitched, no earned runs, didn't walk about it, had 4 strikeouts. Now, Matt Chapman was 2 for 3 with a double. Okay, so and he's hitting well right now, right? So okay, hopefully some cause for optimism there. We'll keep our eye on that matchup tonight. Now, Bubic made the rotation because Danny Duffy, another fellow lefty, is out with an injury right now. Now, Bubic the last couple of years, he's been sitting on a slider that he's been toying with. He's never introduced it on the big league level. This spring training, he did introduce it on the big league level and started to have success with it. So this may very well not be the 3-13 Bubic that we saw from last year. Right now, from what we saw in spring, this looks like a very improved Bubic. He walked a lot of guys in spring, I'll say that, but he was constantly, so he was creating jams, but he was getting himself out of jams constantly this spring. Ultimately had very good numbers, and as I say, was riding his ship constantly in spring and very well in spring. Did not allow a home run in spring. The Blue Jays struggling with the home run so far this season, but hey, did not allow a home run in spring. So Bubic is a lefty. He creates his own problems and own jams with wildness. He's introducing a new slider type pitch as well. Oh my goodness, Kris Bubic is there. Bubic is there. Yusei Kikuchi. Kris Bubic is the Kansas City Royals at Yusei Kikuchi. This pitching matchup is the Spider-Man meme of the two Spider-Mans pointing at each other. These guys are the same guys, right? Now, remember, we talked about Jays 12-20 last season, the worst winning team in baseball versus lefties. 0-1 already to start this season. Have to make hay in this series. You're playing the Kansas City Royals. This is a very, very, very lowly team. All due respect to them and their fan base. This is a very lowly team, right? Let's call it the way we see it. Have to have a good start from Yusei Kikuchi. I think it's, despite his struggles on this mound in the past, all he needs to do is take that success from spring training and move it into this season. We don't need a 20-8 season from Yusei Kikuchi. The best case scenario is he'd be the number 3 or the number 4. I can't see how it could be the 3, but we saw Bassett the other day anyway. But the best case scenario, very likely, is that he's the number 4 starter for the Blue Jays. The worst case scenario, sorry, is that he has to be the number 4. Best case is he can just slide in, be that number 5 starter, and be a consistent starter. Just not the nightmares that we've seen from him in the past. I don't need Yusei Kikuchi getting Cy Young votes. The Blue Jays don't need Yusei Kikuchi getting Cy Young votes in 2023. But for sure, and it's got to start right away. It's got to start right out the gate. For sure, his 2023 needs to be superior to his 2022. Going to get to Scott and Adam from the walk-off in just a moment. But first, want to let you know that buying tickets to your favorite events should not be stressful. Game Time is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. Killer deals on last-minute tickets, best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you're about to have. Flash deals on last-minute tickets, easy to find and buy tickets for any kind of event in your area, images of the seat views, and event cancellation. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals for tickets on football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, you name it, and more, right? You name it. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Okay. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB. That's going to get you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Now, again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB, get your $20 off, download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Well, go ahead, gentlemen. Aren't you guys going to do the intro? So wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is you on my show today. Wait a minute. I'm the host here again. Okay. As Michael Scott would say, how the turntables have turned. Okay, my job to do the intro. Understood. Craig Ballard with you, Locked On Blue Jays. Super excited. I think a lot of you, I was mentioning in our first segment here, I think a lot of you are going to recognize these two gentlemen that we have joining us here today. If you're not recognizing them, get familiar with them. They run a fantastic, 2 thumbs up, honestly, Blue Jay podcast called the Walk Off Podcast. Thrilled to have them join us today. We're going to talk all things Toronto Blue Jay baseball. Scott Belfort and Adam Mack. Scott Belfort, say hello. We'll start with Scott. Scotty, say hello to the good people.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us, Craig. Hello, everyone from Locked On Jays. You're very lucky to have Craig Ballard as your new host here. And by the way, Mr. Ballard, I do want to take this second here as we're starting the show off to just congratulate you on the new gig, man. You're killing it out there.
Oh, much appreciated. Thank you so much, Scott. Always a pleasure for me. If you guys will see me on the walk-off, I've been blessed to be a guest on there many times. That's how I'm speaking from experience, knowing what a good podcast that is. And Scott Belfort always opens it up by saying he's joined by the best co-host in the business, Adam Mack. Adam Mack, say hello to the good people.
Hello to the good people and the bad people, and okay, everyone in between.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we'll include them too.
That's okay. Adam, all-inclusive. Always all-inclusive.
All-inclusive. Ladies and gentlemen and everyone in between. Yeah, you bet.
Now, we're all smiles. We're having fun. We're enjoying life right now. That's right here, right now. Later on today, the Toronto Blue Jays, game 2 of this series at the Kansas City Royals. It's Yusei Kikuchi's debut. Could that turn the frowns up? I don't know. I want to get into Yusei. I want to get into a lot of things Blue Jays with you guys. But let's start with Yusei Kikuchi. One of the first polls I did on the Locked On Jays Twitter handle, and I got robbed, by the way, gentlemen. Locked On Blue Jays is 1 letter too much for Twitter. Oh, I'm so upset. So it's Locked On Jays on Twitter anyway. Okay.
I get it. We're the Walk-Off Podcast on all of our social media, except for Twitter, where the T is 1 letter too long. So we got to get it.
Okay, you're feeling the pain. Okay, we're on the same page there. Okay. And the poll was, where are you on Yusei Kikuchi? So 3 options. Hey, I'm buying in. I'm believing what I'm seeing in spring training. I'm in. Or the second option, I'm out. Guy's got a career RA over 5. I'm out. Or the third option, and the camp I'm firmly in, at the very least, I need to wait and see. And I say that, Scott and Adam, because even if Yusei gets off to a good start, in my mind, in your mind, we've seen that 2021, Yusei Kikuchi got off to a great start, all-star start. In that second half of that season, he was as bad a pitcher as there was in all of baseball. So not only am I in the wait and see category, but I'm talking about I need to see an entire season to start me turned around on Yusei Kikuchi. I always say I think Scott Belfort had the definitive word on the walk-off last year about Yusei Kikuchi. He said, if you think that Yusei Kikuchi stinks, you're probably right. But what a world we would be living in if you're wrong about that, right? Like, what a world we would be living in if all of a sudden Yusei Kikuchi was a contributor to the Toronto Blue Jays. So, Scott, start with you. Where are you right here? And hey, if you change this as the season goes, I'll understand. But right here, right now, where are you on Yusei Kikuchi?
I am nervous, but I am hopeful that this is the season he does kind of pull it together. I do think that he can't be worse, knock on wood, than last season. So I really do think that there is a step forward coming. I know Adam and I have talked about this over the offseason, that really I would take it as a huge win if he could start hot. If he could be the guy we saw in 2021, even if he peters out and ends the season the same way, it gives the Jays time to fix that sort of problem. But we just saw Chris Bassett really struggle in his first start as a Toronto Blue Jay, which makes me even more nervous. And I feel like it ups the ante on what Jose Barrios and Kikuchi need to deliver this season, right? Because we can't have 3 big question marks in this starting rotation. That's just a very scary proposition. Yeah. So where am I at on Yusei Kikuchi? I'm, as we have coined the phrase on the walk-off, toxic positivity is streaming through my veins. I do think that he's going to improve. I do like what I saw out of him in spring. I think the guy is going to have a lot of Ks this season. Can he control his pitches? Can he hit his spots? That has been the thing that has been his downfall his whole career. So at 32 years old, will Yusei Kikuchi find it? It's a rare thing to see, but it has happened, right? The Charlie Mortons of the world are out there. but I'm in your camp. In the long term, though, we got to wait and see how this whole season goes before we actually put a stamp on Yusei Kikuchi as to what he is.
A couple things there that really stood out to me. I had Mitch Bannon, who writes for the Blue Jays for Sports Illustrated, on last week, and his prediction is 175 strikeouts for Yusei Kikuchi. So we got into that, and he made a great point. Even when Yusei Kikuchi is at his worst, he's still a strikeout per innings pitcher guy. So that
absolutely,
the strikeouts are going to come. I love that. And you talk as well about there I was saying, hey, I need to see a full season. You already, Scott, you may have talked me off that ledge. Hey, Craig, let's just see a good start, because by that time, even if he peters, well, Ryu might be in the mix, Tiedemann might be in the mix. Like, we may have some guys that are in the mix at that point. I like that a lot.
The trade deadline's getting closer, right? All of these things are important, and the last thing that this Blue Jays team needs, and the last thing this fan base needs, is a rough start in April when the New York Yankees pitching is reeling and the Rays just continue to be the Rays, right? Even though they, for whatever reason, were off everyone's radar, are now back on everyone's radar, and they look good. I mean, let's face it, their pitching last year was hit by a truck.
Yes.
They're the healthiest that they have been since 2021, and that is a scary proposition when you're talking the Tampa Bay Rays. Not to jump ahead, I know we're going to be talking the AL East down the road.
I love that. Adam Mack, what say you on Yusei Kikuchi?
Well, I want to turn things slightly and congratulate Team Japan on their World Baseball Classic victory.
Ooh.
I want to start there.
Okay,
and
sure.
I want to point out that despite them beating Team USA in the finals, the Japanese Pro Baseball League is a step down from Major League Baseball. I know there's a lot of hype around Japanese baseball right now, but here's Yusei Kikuchi's career numbers in the NPB. He has a career ERA of 2.77 and a WHIP of 1.169. Contrast that with 4 Major League Baseball seasons, and he has a career ERA of 5.02 and a WHIP of 1.424. So what does that mean?
ERA,
I don't know.
ERA is better than last year's numbers.
All I mean to say is that, yes, when we're talking about the top 20 in Japan, the top 20 in USA, neck and neck, absolutely. But the depth of caliber of talent in Major League Baseball is off the charts in comparison.
Unparalleled.
Yep, I think it's a great call. Totally agree. It's why you really need to, fingers crossed, when any of these guys come over that have put up the eye pop emoji numbers over there, right? And all due respect to that league, but yes, I don't think it's on par with Major League Baseball. I think you're right on the money there. Now, Adam and Scott, what some glass half full here. One reason why I think it is legitimate that finally Yusei could break out is, what did we see in spring? That cutter, which is the reason for this right here, that cut fastball seems to be gone. It was atrocious. And he's introduced this new pitch. I always want to remember how Gausman described it, as a curved sliderish pitch. Like even a veteran like Kevin Gausman can't really tell, is that a curve or a slider, because of its unique movement. He had that on display in the spring. So I am hoping there's cause for optimism now. Again, he takes the ball tonight in Kansas City against Chris Bubic, who's a fellow lefty. What could go wrong? Toronto Blue Jays' worst team in baseball against lefties. And we've talked about this many times on the Walk-Off podcast. Make that make sense. The entire team is right-handed studs, and they're the worst team in baseball against lefties. Make any of it make sense. It's a big reason why Adam Mack has always wondered, like, why a lefty just for the sake of a lefty? We need anybody that can hit lefties. I don't care if they stand right on the plate and they're neither left or, I don't care what it is. We need someone that can hit lefties. So Bubic goes tonight. Now, we'll start with you here, Adam Mack. What are you looking for in the rest of this Kansas City series? Still 3 games left. To say Kansas City is a bottom-feeding team, I think is a bit of a – I think Kansas City has to improve quite a bit to get up to be a bottom-feeding team. Like, I think this roster is deplorable. What are you looking for the rest of this series in Kansas City, Adam Mack?
Well, not to look past today's game, but I have got tomorrow's matchup circled on my calendar.
The big fella?
Well, the big fella and the weird fella. I'm a huge Yankee fan. Mr. Eephus. It's going to be one of the funnest pitching duels we're going to see all season long.
That's a great call.
I hope we can get through this one. Maybe steal a win with the bearded dragon on the mound, but I'm really looking forward to tomorrow's matchup.
And Adam, in his career, Alek Manoah, goodness, Kansas City with the struggling offense right now, they did not want to see Alek Manoah walk in the door. He's had 20 innings in his career against them. 1 run.
Wow.
1 run. He's had 3 starts. He's won all 3. Like, he's been totally dominant against the Kansas City Royals. This is a struggling offense in Kansas City. Alek Manoah struggled in his first start. We'll acknowledge that, but Alek Manoah doesn't have the cure for what ails a struggling Kansas City team. But that's a great call about Greinke on the other side of things. Traditionally, the Jays have done all right against Greinke, but you just never know with this guy. He's worth the price of admission, right? Like, he's very enjoyable.
Oh, yeah.
He's very fun to watch. It's a great call. More with Adam and Scott from the Walk Off Podcast in just a moment. But first, I did want to talk to you about Built Bars. We'll soon know the results of the Built Bar March Madness contest. My vote was salted caramel. One Locked On fan going to win a 12-month subscription to Built to have Built's best bars or puffs delivered monthly straight to their door. You got to try Built. Built, the best protein bar ever. Seriously, they're so amazing you won't think they're good for you. Now, what makes Built bars and puffs so good? Well, for starters, high in protein, low in sugar, and covered in 100% real chocolate. Yes, you did hear that correctly. Real chocolate. Enjoy a Built protein bar or puff today. How about you, Scott? What are you looking for in the rest of this series, Blue Jays Royals?
I am so excited to see Yusei's performance this evening. I really am. I really am. For a few reasons. Number one, we have watched the pitch clock mess with a couple of these starting rotation starters' timing, right? Of course, the guys who stood out the most were Alek Manoah, who just didn't seem comfortable on the mound at any point in that opening day start in St. Louis. And, of course, Chris Bassitt, who just, again, calling his own game because he's got 8 pitches, but he just – and Adam and I talked about this on the podcast this morning, right? Is that catchers take years to learn to call a good game. And now the pitch comm is out and the pitch clock is out. And all of a sudden these pitchers are trying to take that skill, that art form that takes years of experience for a catcher to learn and do it overnight. So I'm really curious to see how Yusei Kikuchi does, because throughout the spring, it actually benefited him, right? He was a dude who getting out of his own head and just needing to rush through it. But is it going to benefit him, right? Is the pitch clock going to benefit him? And the big question to me is he going to call his own game, or is he just going to let Jano make the decisions and call it as he sees it there? Of course, the lineup hasn't been released yet, so I don't know if it's Kirky or Jano, but whoever it is. Yeah. Is the catcher going to call this game, or is that going to be Yusei? And how does this play out? That's what I'm excited to see about tonight.
I love the point too about catchers. That's one of the last skills. That's one of the toughest skills is how do you call a game? Let's look at our own Buck Martinez. Buck Martinez is the worst hitter you've ever seen in your life. He was on the big league level for 17 seasons, folks. How is that possible? Because he called a great game. Those sort of skills are, I think, the last to be developed. I think catchers growing up, even these days, they worry more about learning how to frame rather than the strategics of calling a game. And of course, how you frame is about to go out the window because the robo-umps are on their way anyway. So I love those calls here.
Well, I think calling a game is the next skill out the window too, as
really?
Implementation of pitch comm. Oh yeah, the guys in khakis are going to take that over. Like,
wow,
matter of years. I would say within the next 5 years, we have a back room office of nerds that are calling the pitches, that are just punching it into their algorithm, banging on a trash can, and sending that info out.
Oh my! What's Adam referring to there with the trash can? Okay, let's move on. Craig Ballard, Locked On Blue Jays, here with Scott and Adam from the Walk Off Podcast. Now, gentlemen, I want to get into your outlook for the 2023 Toronto Blue Jays. Let's put it this way. If I were to say to both of you, let's start with Adam Mack. If I were to say, Adam Mack, I've actually come back from the future, and I want to tell you, Adam, get excited because the Jays actually win the 2023 World Series. What's your instinct? What's the first thing that you say? Well, if that's the case, then X must have gone really well. What's the X?
Ooh, the X would be Chris Bassitt, Jose Barrios, and Yusei Kikuchi really stepped up.
So you like the idea of a not just the quantity, or not just the quality, but you're talking about a quantity rotation.
Yeah, we depth the whole way through.
Mhm. Like that. How about and for the Belf, the man they call the Belf, Scotty, it's Scott Belfort. How about you, Scott? If the Blue Jays win the World Series this year, it must be because X went really well.
The bullpen. The bullpen
Wow.
stays healthy. We see big steps forward out of Jordan Romano. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, how can you get more out of Romano than you did last year? I would love to see Romano get to the point where, yes, he is able to go and take the ball 4 innings. Sorry, not 4 innings, 4 outs, 5 outs. I would love to see Eric Swanson be that dude in the 8th inning. You know, he's got a strikeout per inning as is that's what his strikeout per inning was last year. I'd love to see that continue. All right. I need to see Tim Mesa be Tim Mesa for
Yes.
2021. He is the
Yes.
only lefty in this bullpen, and I truly believe in Tim Mesa. And I know this is going to rub so many Blue Jays fans the wrong way, right? Like whenever I support Tim Mesa, the comments are always like, "You're crazy. What are you doing?" And yes, his last two appearances have not been pretty, but if you remember, like, try and think back to what a difference maker he was in 2021. He truly was that 8th inning guy. I know it's crazy to think he was the guy before Romano almost 100% of the time. And if he wasn't, he was in that 7th inning and he was shutting things down. You look at his numbers, they are very impressive. So I would like to see Jimmy Garcia do his thing. You know, I just need to see the bullpen be the bullpen that we truly think they can be. I know that there are some people who think that it's a little overhyped. I'm not one of those people. I really think this bullpen, we can see big things out of it. And I also think that they're going to need to make a big addition at the trade deadline in the bullpen as well. And if that all happens and the World Series is the banners being raised and everyone is going to, in my opinion, be going, that bullpen, man, that was the reason. So,
you know, what's funny.
Can I?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
Can I just jump in on the Tim Mesa thing? Because like I like Tim Mesa too, but pointing to 2021 as the shining example of remember how good he was is scares me because remember Rafael Dolis
Oh boy.
and how good he was for the Blue Jays in 2020 and 2021. He had an ERA of 1.5 through 35 appearances. The next season, 39 appearances, an ERA almost 6. So
yeah,
bullpens are
so volatile.
These arms are so volatile, right? So I really want Tim Mesa to have a good season, but I can't quite totally put all my trust in him based on how good he was in 2021.
That'll wrap up today's show. Thank you so much for spending part of your day talking Toronto Blue Jay baseball with me. On tomorrow's Locked On Blue Jays podcast, a little bit more from Scott and Adam from the Walk Off podcast, and we're also going to get you set for the pitching matchup tomorrow night, Alek Manoah versus Zach Greinke. As Tom Cheek would say, touch 'em all, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life.